Fine, you can hear me fine?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you're all well. As Kathleen mentioned, my name is Warren Merritt. I'm the Technical Sales Lead for FIMER Australia, based in Melbourne. Today's webinar, or it's not so much a webinar, but an announcement of a collaboration between FIMER and Wattwatchers to meet the South Australian remote disconnection requirement. So the agenda today is I'll go over a basic overview of the South Australian requirement for remote disconnection, cover the FIMER options and the solutions available, the Wattwatchers technology overview. I'll pass this on to James and Tim from Wattwatchers. They're the experts with their product, and I'm sure you'll enjoy what they have to offer. Wattwatchers demonstration. So we actually have a inverter hooked up, ready to view in real time to see the workings of the Wattwatchers auditor module, and then we'll go into a bit of support and where to buy, and a bit of a QA at the end. But before we jump into it, just a little word on who FIMER is. So FIMER has been around since 1942. So they've had nearly 80 years experience in manufacturing power electronics and power conversion products. 1,100 employees globally across 26 countries. We have 3 production plants, 2 in Italy, which are the manufacturers of our string inverters. So all our string inverters that you'll see today are manufactured in Italy, and 1 production plant in India for our central inverter utility range. Currently, FIMER have about 46 gigawatts of installed capacity, which makes FIMER the 4th largest solar inverter manufacturer in the world. So the South Australian requirements, as you know, there's been a lot happening in South Australia, not only for remote disconnection and reconnection, but solar inverter manufacturers have been having to meet a few other requirements like the low voltage ride through, obviously the remote disconnection and reconnection, and in 2021, the export limitation or flexible exports. So the new technical standard required now when connecting solar systems or solar generation systems to South Australia is to have the capability of remote disconnection and reconnection. This will be assigned to an agent, a registered agent, so what we call a relevant agent with the technical regulator. So system owners and operators are now required to appoint an approved party, which is known as the relevant agent, who is authorised to do the remote disconnection and later on reconnection. So just touch base on the current FIMER relevant agent options. Intellihub, I'll just do a quick mention on them. Intellihub is a provider of smart meters in South Australia. They're a metering provider. Their solution is through the element contacts of the smart meter mounted in the main switchboard of the inverter, and disconnects the AC of the inverter or activates the DRM0 input. It's communication through 3 and 4G, and there's a contact there. We'll probably share this slide with you. This is probably the most basic option that Intellihub offer, or the relevant agents offer, but there are restrictions too, which I'll mention very soon. And there's a new collaboration that we have between FIMER and Wattwatchers. The relevant agent will be listed on the relevant agent list as South Australian Power Network Wattwatchers. We'll also be updating that list very soon to also include the word FIMER there, so it makes it a lot easier for installers to see which relevant agent to choose. So the solution that Wattwatchers device offers is an I/O input into the inverter, which activates the remote on-off function, which is the DRM0, which I'll discuss soon. The device is installed in the switchboard, but also has the flexibility of being installed in an enclosure close to the inverter, or even on a subboard. So if you have an inverter mounted in an outbuilding, the Wattwatchers auditor module is certainly the way to go. Operates through Wi-Fi or the 4G network options. Intellihub, at a quick glance, it does have restrictions. This is a list of what it can and can't do. So what it can do, it's ideal for single phase homes where the inverter is on the same building as the meter. 2 or 3 phase homes with no controlled load where the inverter is on the same building as the meter, or 2 and 3 phase homes with control load and a room in the meter for additional smart meter where the inverter is on the same building as the meter. So basically it's restricted when the inverter is basically mounted on the same building as the main switchboard where the smart meter is. What I can't do is on any phase home with an existing smart meter that is not Intellihubs. So Intellihub has a list of retailers that it works with. So if the customer is with a retailer that's not on that list, Intellihub is not the option. Any phase home that does not have a retailer agreement, and any phase home where the inverter is on a different building as a smart meter, because there's extra wiring from the smart meter out to the sub board or the outbuilding, so it will just be probably too expensive or too difficult for installers. Also can't meet 2 or 3 phase homes with a control load and no room in the meter box for an additional smart meter where the inverter is on the same building as the meter. So if the board is full, it's obviously going to blow out the cost of the job. You probably have to do a switchboard upgrade, or it's just physically not possible. Let's move to Wattwatchers. So FIMER and Wattwatchers have been working close together for a little while now, and we've come up with a solution. So a fully tested solution, and we'll show you a live demonstration soon. I won't go too much into it because we have the experts here, the manufacturers of the auditor module. They will be the ones that will shed light and a bit of a deep dive into what this module can do. And it's got some great functions and features, which is not only meets the requirement of the South Australian remote disconnection reconnection, but it also provides some special features for the customer as well. So FIMER and Wattwatchers certainly do meet the South Australian regulations, and the Wattwatchers device also provides the customers with so much more. As you know, FIMER XAVB has been around a long time. We have high quality Italian-made products with leading warranties, full 10-year warranties on our single phase solar inverters. That's not a 5+5 where the latter 5 years is just a parts only. FIMER cover the whole inverter for the whole 10 years, repair, replace. We cover the logistics, and we also reimburse replacement costs. The Wattwatchers tools, not only the hardware, but the software tools available for the customers are outstanding. Energy management apps for saving money, better experience through cellular networks, flexible with any inverter and any retailer. As I mentioned before, it can be mounted on an outbuilding on the main board or close to the inverter in its own enclosure. And easy onboard and management system. It's quite impressive, very easy to use, and the guys will explain more very soon. But what I'll talk about, being from FIMER, is more at a inverter level on how the remote on-off function works and how we activate the DRM0. So what you see here, I'll talk about the UNO range single-phase inverters first. So when installing a UNO DM plus Q single-phase inverter, to meet this standard, you will require the optional COM kit. Now, FIMER offer 2 COM kits. The functions that you see on the screen here are all common to both. The common Ethernet COM kit has a RJ45 plug to it. So if Wi-Fi is not an option on site, you can hardwire through Cat5 Ethernet back to the customer's Wi-Fi. So as you can see here, there's a few different terminals on the COM kit here for RS485 through Modbus RTU communication. So ideal for connecting an energy meter for any zero export or export limitation. Also alarm contacts for its complete configurable alarm, as well as can be configured as a load management relay. And then we have the remote on-off, on terminal number 26 there. So this is a digital input into the inverter. It is quite simple. How it works is all we're really doing is bringing one terminal of the remote on-off to the same potential to the other terminal, which activates the digital input. So before we move on, it's important to know that with the UNO DM range, you will require the UNO COM kit to activate the DRM0. So this slide here is mentioning the Ethernet board. I've actually put the wrong slide up here. Apologies for that. But there is on the Ethernet kit board, it is the RJ45 plug. On the bottom little table there, it shows the remote terminals. So you have a plus R and a return. So all we're really doing is shorting these terminals out to activate the DRM0, the digital input. What also needs to be done once you insert the UNO COM kit into the inverter, to activate the DRM0 function inside the inverter, the COM kit comes with a couple of little jumper leads. This jumper lead must be fitted to the DRM0 on/off, so the top two pins of the board there. In all other inverters, the React 2, our other single-phase hybrid inverter with battery solution, our PVS range, the PVS 50 and the PVS 100 that are currently out, and we're also very soon releasing a smaller three-phase range, the PVS 10 to 33 kilowatt inverters. So the new range coming out very soon will be a PVS 10 kilowatt, 12.5 kilowatt, a 15 kilowatt, a 20 kilowatt, and a 30 and a 33 kilowatt. So all the boards for this are built in as standard, so no other options are required. So all you simply do is wire to these functions, and you also have to activate the function inside the web server on all our inverters, the UNO, the React, and the PVS range. So once you wire to these terminals, when you connect your smartphone, tablet, or device to the inverter to commission it, so you connect via Wi-Fi, open up a browser, which is the built-in web server, which is our interface tool to commissioning it. You can also go in and activate the remote function. So the remote function, there's a menu down the left-hand side of the screen. You tap on the little cog wheel, the settings wheel, go into digital inputs, and enable the remote function. That's all you have to do. In our PVS and 50/63 phase range, the terminals are slightly different. So they're all labelled. This is the board that the remote on/off function is attached to, and you simply connect to the remote R1 and R2. The PVS 100/120 kilowatt three-phase inverters has a different board again. This is what we call a supervisory board. It's a COM board which sits horizontal on the AC section of the inverter down low. These are the terminals to connect to the remote on/off. So it's quite simple. You wire from the Wattwatchers device to this. I'll show you a circuit diagram very shortly to make it more clear. But this is the way that we wire to the inverter to activate the function. And as I mentioned before, in all the inverters, when you go through the commissioning stage, so you connect to the inverter, you connect the inverter to the customer's Wi-Fi, you set the country code, the time and date. If you're using an energy meter, you can do it all within the web server. And then to activate the remote function, the DRM0 function, you go into the menu, open up the cog wheel there, the settings, go into digital inputs, and enable the remote on and off. It's quite simple. So on an inverter level, it's quite simple. What I have here is a circuit diagram. This is just a single phase circuit diagram. We have a three-phase circuit diagram as well. We'll discuss it a bit more. There'll be links at the end. We have all the documentation and application notes that you will require to not only connect to the inverter, but also connect up the Wattwatchers auditor module. So here you see a single line diagram of a single phase installation. You will see the Wattwatchers module in the middle there and the inverter on the far right hand side. It's a pretty simple diagram here, all we're doing is using one of the load switchboard load relays from the Wattwatchers to activate a contactor, which sends a voltage-free signal across the DRM0 remote on-off. So all we're really doing is shorting the two contacts. You can also see a couple of CTs connected. For the purpose of just remote on-off, you don't need to connect the CTs, but it's certainly worthwhile because, as you'll see with the Wattwatchers team, James and Tim will show you some of the functions and features that can feed some information into their system and provide some fantastic benefits to the customer. So what I'll do now is I'll pass over to the Wattwatchers team, James Clement. Great bloke, we've been working together for quite a while now. I'll pass over to you, James, and you can do a bit of a deep dive into the product.
Excellent, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Warren. You must be, hopefully you're looking at my screen now and can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for all that rundown, Warren. That's been really good. And my aim today is to take you through the Wattwatchers technology and just show you how simple it is to work with the FIMER inverter technology and get started to meet the requirements in South Australia. Now, FIMER and Wattwatchers have decided to work together to take this technology bundle to South Australia to meet the requirements and add more value to residential customers. In addition, more broadly outside of South Australia, this technology can be used to provide more and more value to the residential customer. And so today I'll take you through what that looks like. But you may not have heard about Wattwatchers too much, so I'll just give you a quick snapshot that we see real value in the brand and the partnership between FIMER and Wattwatchers as a global inverter brand with solid technology. I'm partnering with sort of Wattwatchers as a flexible energy technology company. I think together we add a lot of value to the market. Our technology at Wattwatchers starts with the hardware. You can see that in the top left. We call these devices the auditors. They come in a Wi-Fi and a cellular device. And this is a really flexible technology set because we have an API that is core to our business. And we use that API to share data with lots of different platforms and partners. At the moment, we have around 40 integrated partners, but that's not the focus of today's session. Today, we're very much focusing on the hardware, the Wattwatchers toolkit that makes it super simple to onboard and install these devices, and the energy management application that can be used by homeowners to save money and get more value from their solar. So as Warren mentioned, we do two things in this combined offering. We help meet the requirements for South Australia by providing the remote disconnect function, and we do that via South Australian Power Networks as the relevant agent, which makes that a compliant solution. In addition, we do more for customers by giving them an application that they can use that helps them get the most from their solar and save a bit of money. So that happens through the energy management application. In addition, I think many of you work with Wi-Fi based technologies, and Wattwatchers has also Wi-Fi based technology. For this particular purpose and the dispatch of solar systems and to have a good customer experience, we see a lot of value in cellular. And so what we'll take you through is some of the reasons for that. Nothing to do with the quality of any Wi-Fi technology out there. It's all to do with the squiffiness of the home Wi-Fi systems and people changing passwords and upgrading router settings and those sorts of things. So we'll get into that detail a little bit later. We just think that provides a better customer experience. We can be used on any retailer and any inverter. So across the range of the FIMER inverters, single phase and three phase, we can be utilized. And I realise by the end of this, you'll be getting a bit sick of me and having a look at some presentation slides. So Tim is going to demonstrate, live how easy this technology is just to set up, configure, and onboard as part of this work in South Australia and more broadly in Australia. But just to get started on the home energy application and what that looks like and what capability we have, and what we have today, and this is up now on the Apple App Store and soon to be released on the Android store. It's got the features you might expect from a home energy management tool to be able to see real-time energy views of your home, where you're using energy, has a breakdown within the key loads within the home, and also how your solar's performing. So I think what you'll notice about Wattwatchers technology and how it's a bit different to some of the other things out there is we are focusing on whole of home and the loads within it, not just exclusively on the solar. Additionally, one of the ways we help people save money right now is we can help homeowners find the best tariff for them to be on by comparing a number of different retail offers in the market and helping them find the best deal so that they get save a bit of money and get the most value from their solar. Additionally, I mean, what's coming next year is the ability to control and use the control devices a bit more automatically with these, as well as turning the focus more away from the kilowatt hours and much more into dollars and cents and putting dollars and cents on everything. And so there's some of the key changes you'll see early in the new year as this application gets updated with more and more features, which we plan to do quite quickly after launch. Now, you probably don't know too much about the auditor itself. So to give you an idea of what the technology looks like and does, one Wattwatchers auditor in a single-phase home with 6 current transformers has the capability to monitor the whole of home, so solar and grid and the key loads within it, and also control up to 3 loads. So this enables homes to accurately determine what their solar is generating, how much they're importing and exporting from the grid, so they can understand how that's performing. So the hardware itself is called the auditor, and what we're proposing here is the Auditor 6M, which is a model that has inbuilt cellular communications. We have 6 channels of monitoring on the auditor. We have 3 channels, independent channels of switching control. As Warren was mentioning, one of those is used to be able to activate the DRM capability within the FIMER inverters. We also use Optus, Telstra, and Vodafone as the 3 key carriers in Australia, and our technology automatically selects the telecommunications network with the best reception for that particular site. So, as an example, at my house, I've got 2 of these things. One at the mains that monitors mains and solar, and the other one at the subboard within the home. And they're actually operating on different networks. We've got one on Telstra, one on Optus, just because of the nature of the signal strength at those locations. We are a 1% Class 1 accurate device, so accurate to 1%, which is really useful in solar performance monitoring and allows us to support some of these services to do with the accurate monetization or putting dollars and cents against people's electricity data. It's not an estimate; it's the same accuracy as a billing meter. We also support a number of relevant agents in the market, but the most widely used is SA Power Networks, which this solution sort of supports out of the box. If you are working with other relevant agents, we're listed on the list under a number of agents, but you can also utilize our technology if you're working with those partners. In addition, we realise that we have to move past the disconnect, and so we have a strong focus on creating more sophisticated features for virtual power plants, and that's all coming next year. We have the hardware today, and we're developing the set of drivers to communicate with and control inverters in a more fine-grained way going forward. So I just wanted to touch on a moment on why we're recommending cellular. I know that many companies out there and installers will be using Wi-Fi connected systems for a range of things. We often hear that Wi-Fi with some of the installing companies we're working with can be up to 70% of their support load just focused on Wi-Fi connectivity issues. So there's a big advantage, I think, if you can make that connection more reliable, even just looking at this in terms of support. But when you look at it in terms of customer experience and just providing something that always works rather than something that might drop in and out a bit more with the home Wi-Fi network, it has a lot of value. In addition, the cellular technology that we use is faster to install. You don't have to coordinate with the home on accessing their SSID credentials for their Wi-Fi network. As soon as the Wattwatchers is powered up, you can configure it with an application that we'll show you in a second, and then you're up and running after you've checked that the readings are correct. We provide multiple carrier support. As we touched on, we support the big 3, which gives you the best chance of being able to connect via cellular at any location in Australia. If there are signal strength issues at the site, there's remote antennas or external antennas that you can get to the device to improve signal strength and make sure that you get things off to a good start. As Warren touched on, we're also a good solution for homes that have subboards, or I'm noticing actually that there's also an increasing number of homes that have no landline internet connection, so Wi-Fi is not possible. actually quite a few homes and people operating off their mobile hotspots. And so this cellular device is a good fit for those sorts of things as well. So we think that just all results in a better customer experience, more referrals for you as a business, and less support load. So part of one of the reasons of Wattwatchers is easy to install, that it's really compact. The auditor itself is 2 DIN slots wide, so 35 millimeters, mounts on the DIN rail alongside all of your circuit breakers, and fits within the switchboard. Just alongside those circuit breakers and things. So usually can fit within the PVDB. We have a very good chance of being able to fit within the available space. If you can't fit within the available space, it's pretty easy to use an external enclosure that's usually plastic with DIN rail already in there, and you can quickly install the device even externally. So if there's space, that compactness just really helps to speed up the installation and make it faster. And we also do a number of other things to help installation go a bit more easily and be faster. One of those is we send pre-configured tails with the auditor, and so that it's much faster and easier to connect into the switchboard. In addition, what we'll touch on in a moment is the applications that enable that process just to be really fast and easy. Now, for South Australia, in particular, we have to make sure that we're making the right selections. So we're focused on making our part really easy. And we do that through the onboarding application that we use, which you see at item number 3 there. But there are a couple of other things that just have to be done as part of doing business in South Australia. The first is to, on the SEG approval for the solar retailer, has to select that it's an internet-connected Wattwatchers Auditor 6M or 6W. In addition, the selection on the electrical certificate of compliance needs to be made to select SA Power Networks Wattwatchers. Then once the device is configured with our application, that device is dispatchable by SAPN and a compliant solution in South Australia. So we've got 2 key tools. I know you're getting a bit tired of me talking now, so I'm going to hand over to Tim to give us a bit of a demonstration on this. But there are 2 key tools that we use to help you onboard devices and manage the fleet of Wattwatchers technology with those FIMER inverters attached. The first is an onboarding tool. The second is a fleet manager. So over to you, Tim, to take us through what that looks like.
No worries, James. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Excellent. And hopefully you should now be able to see my screen as well. All right, so as James said, our onboarding app is designed for simplicity. So I'm actually going to do a demo from Melbourne to one of the devices that's installed up in Sydney at the FIMER Repair Centre. All the screenshots you will have seen as we went are actually mobile. The entire site is just a website. There's no app to install, but it means you can use it on your mobile phone or you can actually use it on a desktop computer. So it actually means there's a few options in terms of generally it's always done in the field, but if there's anything that needs to be changed or checked for remote diagnostics, those can be done after the fact. So all I'm going to do is just load the serial number of the device we've got installed. You'll see it immediately load some basic status information. Something that we're doing as part of the South Australian requirements is entering a customer street address. This is a flexible name field that we use many different ways for many different projects and customers, but at the moment, it is a street address and any other identifying information we wish to include. You can always do a quick check of the signal strength and the device status, which is connected and sending data last communicated just a few seconds ago, which is all quite normal. On the channels, so we have this 4-step process of actually getting an install completed is where we set up our CTs. You'll notice we've already got one CT set up for solar generation, and it's already been set up as a single phase. And if you've used some of our tools in the past, there are some new features that help speed up whether it's a 2-phase or particularly a 3-phase might be relevant for the React and the PVS series of inverters as well. So for example, if we were adding a new CT for the grid monitoring, all we do is in this case, we'll set up channel 2, grid connect, the custom label's already populated with something that means it doesn't need to be changed. And it's as simple as hitting save. Now we've set up a CT. Flowing on that, quick look at the energy for this side is where we show real-time information coming off the auditor device. Now, the Grid Connect CT is not actually connected, only the solar generation one is. You can see we've currently got a slightly high voltage, but the system is still generating 4 amps. And if we hover over our chart at the top, giving us about 1.1 kilowatts. This is just a small demonstration system to show you, but this data is updating every 5 seconds. So as an installer in the field with this on your phone, you can not only check that the CTs are installed the right way and that the data is coming through cleanly, but now we're going to show you how you actually test the disconnect in the field, which is another part of the South Australian requirements process. So in our switches interface, again, there's one that's already set up, but if we were setting up a new channel that was on our first, we have up to 3 switching channels, which allows a fair bit of installation flexibility. All we do is drop down our category will be solar export control. You'll see that opens a further range of options. We can label it if we need to, might just be solar inverter. We'll leave the contactor as normally open, will be how we'll use them with the FIMER inverters. These custom on-off labels can be changed if you wish, but the most important things are selecting the DRM0 type. The customer's NIMI will hopefully be there on your paperwork. That gets entered as well. And if it was a 5 kilowatt inverter, you would simply enter 5 kilowatts as the load. So now that we've set up a switch, just revisit this again quickly. So I'll go back to the energy section. You can see now that we're still generating a nice steady 1.1, 1.2 kilowatts here. So now we'll show you, we'll do the disconnect, and it happens to be on channel 2 in this demonstration. So we'll simply flick the switch. That signal will now take normally around about 5 to 10 seconds to go from the system down to the auditor. It immediately switches the contactor, and the DRM port on the inverter should respond within about 60 seconds, usually within about 10 to 20 seconds. And we should see this solar ramp down from that 1.1 kilowatts. There you go. So hopefully you can see that as well. That's already responded to the DRM signal, has ramped effectively down to 0 generation. So that is a successful test of the disconnect function. And this is essentially the way the system responds, or it is the way the system responds when South Australian Power Networks issue their signal as well. This is just a field test version of that. And now I'll go back into the switches interface. Simply turn that, oh, that was the wrong channel, do apologize. Sometimes those happen in live demos. Show you how real it is. So I'll do it on channel 2, the correct channel. That will now be back into the connected state. And it will take around about 60 seconds for the inverter to go through its internal tests and then start to slowly ramp up the production. So for everyone watching at home, about 5:04, you can see that was quite 0, so we can come back to this. But while the inverter is going through its self-test and ramp, we wanted to quickly show you to the fleet tool, which is the other half of this. Now, generally speaking, the fleet tool is used by the office team as part of the diagnostic flow, but it's also used by those that are managing groups of installations. As you can see in this group, we've actually got 3 devices. The top one is the device 257 that we just set up. And a lot of the same information that we had access to in the onboarding tool, which is designed for use in the field, can be looked at here. We can look at our signal strength and confirm that it has really strong firmware versions are useful for when you're potentially dealing with the Wattwatchers support team, as well as those statistics on the communications are strong. It's last heard from a few seconds ago, so that's a good, reliable device. The live energy data, exactly the information that we were seeing in the onboarding tool is also available here in our fleet management tool. And further to that, the switch states can be managed as well from the back end. So you can see actually that first one I did, which is not the actual test, the second one is back in the connected state, and that will start to ramp shortly. The other piece of this is giving the customers access to their portal, the apps that we showed you. And the site information is just another part of our fleet tool where it's quite easy to add the customers. I'll edit this existing site, which is set up for myself, as you can probably understand, but simply a site name, a street address, city. You then associate the device ID that's been installed at that property, and enter an email address, and that provides the end customer with access to their data as well. So we'll go back to onboarding, look at that. That's a perfect demo. We'll never do one this good. No, they usually work quite this well. So that solar system is now ramping up, and will simply return to its maximum and stabilize at about 1.1 kilowatts. What we'll do also, James, I think you were going to talk a little bit more about just bringing this back together, doing a little bit of a wrap up, and then we'll all be available for some QA. So I'm sure there'll be a few. I can see a couple coming through on the chat as well.
One. If you could take us through that. Hopefully that gives you a sense of these process using that application correctly, and I commission that device to make sure that it's working correctly. For South Australia, I think this is we've tried to touch on how we add value to customers in the home, as well as the compliance requirements, which we, it's great to give the customers more for their home. It helps get the most from the solar and save flexibility in this. Touch we could regulatory meter thing if customers are with certain using different any system. We tried to demonstrate how quick that is in a live demo. But one of the things we wanted to touch on was an offer we working on, have worked on to get this technology just make it easy for people to adopt. So for around about the first 500 devices, we've reached an agreement with TradeZone, and we're launching an offer that includes all the sort of base technology you need to be able to monitor and control an inverter in South Australia. And that kit comes with energy application that we touched on today, access to the toolkit for you as an installer to manage installation, make that really easy to flip device as well. It also includes the required contactor, 360 amp CPs that you need for either a three-phase system to monitor solar, or the minimum you need to on a single-phase home to pick up solar, grid, and one other key load in the home. So we've also thrown in for the launch on cellular, so we won't turn those devices off as long as they're to be used. So usually that's for that level of the hardware with all the cellular comms forever. That's definitely more than $900 in value. So it's launching that through TradeZone at $213. And after the launch period, and we've got through those first 500, if it's a successful offer, we'll do that to look at doing more. But certainly, there's a definite offer after that of $399 for that hard bundle with the. So to get started with this and find an easy pathway to getting started with the Wattwatchers FIMER combination. Over to you for this, Warren.
No worries. Thanks, James and Tim. That was great. As you can see, the Wattwatchers auditor doesn't just satisfy the South Australian remote disconnect function. It has features that will certainly benefit the customer, and they put it in simple terms where as colleagues in the solar industry, we talk kilowatt hours and kilowatts and all that sort of stuff. But they make it simple for the customer where they pull it down to dollars and cents too. So with the auditor switching the FIMER inverters through the DRM function, it gives you flexibility. It meets the requirement. It's super simple to install as well. Also gives you the flexibility in where you can install it, as whether or not it's in the main switchboard, even mounted next to the inverter out in the field, or off a subboard as well. So there's no restrictions in that regard. As you can see here on the support resources, we have application notes both for FIMER single-phase and three-phase inverters. This will be, the links are here. We'll share those links, and we'll share this presentation as well. So feel free to have a look, click those links. We have an email address for technical support for FIMER. Feel free to email any questions or any concerns that you have there, and the 1-800 number for our technical support team. So the technical support team, they're very competent in what they're doing. They know the products inside and out. They can answer any questions, not only from installers, but they also welcome calls from end users as well. So the mums and dads out there, the system owners. So if there's any questions, we're welcoming any questions, whether or not it's FIMER inverter related or Wattwatchers auditor related, we're at your disposal.
So we've had one come through from Michael asking Tim if the 4G is permanently connected or are you using a VPN?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. The 4G is permanently connected. There is nothing I had to do other than log onto that website, and that's literally all an installer needs to do off their phone as well. Again, one of the advantages of we're configuring the devices through the cloud. There is actually a little background process that puts the device into a high data mode that makes it very responsive, data coming through every 5 seconds on the onboarding app. But no specific VPN that needs to be installed or run.
And feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask the team a question or type in the chat.
Thanks, Michael.
Looking for your questions.
So while everyone's thinking of the tricky questions that you want to throw at us, as I mentioned before, the links are here. They're quite detailed, the application notes from Wattwatchers. Also, feel free to visit FIMER's website and download the product manuals with the inverters that you're working with. They have a wealth of information. Everything you need to know is in those manuals. They're quite comprehensive. You have a step-by-step process on not only how to commission the inverters and working with the built-in web server, installation guides, and also the step-by-step and the procedures on how to actually wire up and activate the DRMO function of the inverter, the digital input. Any questions? We must have answered everything.
If that's the case, I will thank the team from Wattwatchers and Warren for presenting this afternoon. Tomorrow you'll receive a link to this recording, the presentations, as well as a bit more of an information pack. But feel free, if you've got any questions about Wattwatchers or the FIMER solution, feel free to reach out to us. We're very happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. But thanks again, and all the best.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you.